All right, so let's work through this past exam question. It's taken from 2017, exam 2, question 4. It says, the rides at the theme park are set up at the beginning of each holiday season. The project involves activities A to O. The directed network below shows these activities and their completion times in days. Now, before this video started, I just quickly did a forward and backward scan here, just to save us some time. You should be comfortable with doing this, and this is something that's required in order to do this question. So if you can't do something like this and do a forward and backward scan, make sure you can do it. This is just the bread and butter skills of this type of stuff. All right, we can keep on going. It says, write down the two immediate predecessors of activity I, where here is activity I right here. So its two immediate predecessors are going to be D, and as you can see, it's also going to be E because we've got this dummy edge coming into I there. So it's going to be D and E. So let's write that in. Let's come down here and let's write down D and E. My immediate predecessors. Let's look at our examiner's report to see how people did with this question. As you can see, D and E are our answers here. 67% of people got that correct. This question was answered quite well. The dummy is not an activity, and hence writing it as an additional predecessor could not be accepted. So you don't write dummy, obviously. What you do is you say, all right, E is coming through the dummy, but the dummy is not an activity. So important to notice. We come to the next part. It says the minimum completion time for the project is 19 days. Can we just stop for a moment? This 19 days is very helpful because when I was doing my forward and backward scanning, well, when I was doing my forward scanning specifically and I hit 19, well, it said 19 here. So it kind of just confirmed to me that I did it correct, which is great. It says there are two critical paths. One of the critical paths is AEJLN. So let's highlight that. So one of the critical paths is this, and it's AEJLN. There is one critical path. It now wants us to write down the other critical path. So remember, the critical path is when your numbers coming in and out are the same. So if we go forward, it still has to be 0, 2, 2. But now, instead of going 10, 10 that way, I can go 10, 10 this way. 10, 10, 12, 12, 17, 17, 19, 19. So now my other critical path is going to be A, E, then I, and then L, then N. AEILN. Let's see how many people got that one correct. AEILN, 44% of people got that correct. It says quite a few students gave ADILN. So why did they go AD? They went this way, AD. I'm not quite sure why they went that way. The way that we do our critical path analysis and do our forward and backward scanning makes it pretty easy to identify the critical path. So I imagine if they used another technique, maybe they messed it up doing it that way. Next, it says determine the float time in days for activity F. Activity F. All right, where's activity F? Here it is. So remember, to figure out the float time of this, you simply look at these numbers. My red number minus my green number, 11 minus 5 is going to be 6. So my answer here will be 6. Let's see how many people got this one correct. 6 days is my answer there. 28% of people got that correct, which is terrible, 28%. It says, this question was not answered well, with 7 and 5 the most common incorrect responses. I'm not quite sure why so many people got that wrong. I don't feel that this is a supremely tricky skill. You just have to look at F, look at the red and green number, and subtract them from each other. So nothing too insane there. Now we come to part C. Now this is where the rails might come off a little bit.